Welcome back, everybody, to Unfiltered Not Ashamed. We are here today after, it feels like, 24 full hours or maybe more of editing and sound complications. So I guess please give us some grace as we are learning this process. We have goals and intentions to learn and get better and more efficient. And so you'll be along for the ride on that journey. Today, we want to finish up kind of our high school journey real quick, junior, senior year, and then kind of zip through the next couple decades just to kind of get you caught up with who we are, where we are in life, where we might be coming from. Yeah, perceptions and past and experience with things. So sets that base level for future episodes and conversations and topics. Yeah, we're creating the foundation. So with that, junior year. Fun way to start is to give a reference as to what was going on in pop culture in those last 2 years of our high school experience. What do you have there, Jess?
According to the top 100 Billboard hits of 1999, the number one song title was Believe by Cher.
I'm resisting to sing.
Well, I can't do the.
I can't either.
I can't do.
Yeah, no.
So also I can't sing in general.
Nor can I.
Now this one we might be able to pull off a little bit. No Scrubs by TLC.
Oh wow. I can't do it off the top of my head. I can do Shoot and What a Man, but not No Scrubs.
Something hanging out the passenger side of his best friend's
ride. Hollering at me.
Trying to holler at me.
Yeah.
Yikes. That's the most I'm gonna say. So that was number one and number two. Number three was Angel of Mine by Monica. That's not coming to my mind. Heartbreak Hotel by Whitney Houston featuring Faith Evans and Kelly Price. Also not coming to my mind. And number five, the iconic Britney Spears.
Oops.
Hit Me Baby.
Oh, okay. I was a mild Britney Spears fan. I think it was more because it was on the top 40 charts. And if you listen to those radio stations, it was always on it.
Or it was played overhead, right?
Yeah. Everywhere you went.
Mall, the grocery store.
Yeah. Okay, so 99. This is just from a Google search, so I'm not going to say that it is 1000% fact, but it sounds pretty correct. From memory, the top movies were Fight Club, which I did not watch in high school. I did not watch that until I started dating my now husband, and we watched it together years later, probably back in the Blockbuster era where you went got movies for Friday nights.
One of my all-time faves.
It is a really great, we quote it quite often. American Pie.
I've already shared my experience about that related to that movie.
Yeah. Also very quotable. Very quotable. And then 10 Things I Hate About You, which we just talked about the other day. I mean, there's a special spot just because of Heath Ledger no longer with us.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. And then Kat. Yeah, what is her name? It's her
Julia
Stiles. It's the 25th anniversary of that movie coming up.
I've seen some videos.
Yeah, great movie.
There's one floating around recently of Julia Stiles reading her 10 Things I Hate About You poem, and she can't get through it without tearing up.
Oh, that's so sweet. And then the Blair Witch Project came out of nowhere, it says, and it became the highest grossing independent film of all time. You've never seen the Blair Witch Project?
Really?
I did. I watched it classically in the basement of someone's house with all the lights off. I mean, I think at the time, those documentary style things weren't normal. And so people couldn't understand the concept that it wasn't real. You didn't have that concept at that time, which just blows my mind. But so that kind of just takes us back to that in the fun.
It's kind of a documentary.
It really was. It threw people off. I mean, because people didn't know about it. Yeah, first. They did. They really did. Which is exactly how most reality shows and stuff like that were at that time too. People didn't know what to believe. I never got into like The Hills, and I think that was later. But I think that was a sort of the same thing as people were like, what do you mean it's scripted?
When we were in high school, like the big reality show was MTV Real World. And then they added Road
Rules. That's what it was. I love that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah,
watching.
depending on who was on the season.
Well, for sure. Okay, so that kind of sums up where the world was, pop culture at that time. What was junior year?
So let's see. Junior year, everyone was driving by then. So that was a big deal. There was just a lot of, let's just drive around and see if we can find something to do. What a waste of gas money.
It was 99 cents.
It was. And so you just kind of drove around and hoped you ran into something to do. Or maybe it was a little stalkery, but you would drive by the guy who liked house to see if their car was there or if any other cars were there. There was no social media, so there was no location services like there are on Snapchat. So
we had to hunt them down,
get in the car. Mm-hmm. And then we just had to presume that no one else had picked them up if their car was there.
Right.
It was a lot of,
there were no
lot of ridiculousness.
There was no cell phones. It was pagers still.
Pagers.
Which page phones were a quarter. Nope, they were 35 cents.
Oh, that's right. They changed over to 35 cents. Phones had 30 minutes a month.
I didn't even have a cell phone. Well, no, in junior year, I don't think I did. It was a Nokia. Yeah, but we really didn't use it.
It was 30 minutes a month.
Yeah.
And it was super expensive for anything over that.
Yeah.
So you used the payphone.
Yep.
And then the cell phone was for an emergency.
Junior year for me, I mean, it's all kind of a blur between sophomore and junior, but in my home, it changed a lot for obvious reasons. But I was a new mom, daughter born in October of sophomore year. So come junior year, it was a little bit more under my belt with it, but my dad had passed away as well in that time. And so there was just a lot of structural differences in my home, meaning my sister who had been living there helping with both my daughter and my dad, she moved and my mom was still struggling. So it was a very interesting time. And yes, I was a part of some of the weekend antics and stuff like that, but not as much. We drove around more at that time listening to Delilah.
Funny enough, last night as I was driving home from the store, there was a car full of teenage girls next to me. It was so lovely out last night.
Yeah, it was so
nice. Yeah, they did too. And we were coming up on a stoplight and I could just hear them like singing. I didn't pay attention to the song, but I could just hear these teenage girls giggling and singing the song together. And I immediately thought of the nights that we would drive around.
Everywhere.
We drove wherever and we listened to Delilah.
My little one would fall asleep in the car. So, I mean, I think also being I don't know, I did this as an adult parent as well, but as a teen parent, you're still kind of trying to figure it all out. And it was kind of, it gave me a balance between being able to socialize and being a mom. So we would drive around and she would sleep. And then when I got home, we would transition to the crib.
Mm-hmm.
Most nights went well.
Sometimes she fell asleep early enough and your mom.
Yes. And so we could go by ourselves. Yeah. So if I got her to bed early enough, then she could stay home too. But
if she woke up, your mom paged you.
Yep. And I had to go.
Like, night's over.
Yep. That's what it was. Which, I mean, so grateful that I had those opportunities. I think it was a good balance for all of us. She held me accountable, but I think it also gave her a distraction from the grief that she was going through. And if I wouldn't have had my daughter, I don't think my mom would have, I wouldn't have been around. I would have been a typical teenager.
Oh, yeah.
You would have been whatever. My mom would have been in the house alone. It's kind of interesting just how things kind of fell into place like that. Obviously, ideally, I would have preferred to have my dad around. I would never now say that I would have preferred to not have a child at that time because it made me who I am today. It wasn't easy. And that was because I was being held accountable. And that's good. And that's the way it should be. Yeah. So that was kind of, just kind of just getting by. Just trying to enjoy your life. We went to junior prom together.
We did. We were each other's dates before that was the thing to do.
Yes.
Really common now.
Yeah.
It was unusual.
Yep. And it was just, now we did not go to dinner with anybody else. I don't even think we went to dinner.
No, we did.
Did we? No, well, we went by ourselves. So
you did tell us. No, I don't remember where we went, but I remember something was messed up with the reservation and one of our friends' dads.
That was homecoming.
Oh, it was?
That was freshman homecoming.
It was freshman year.
It's the only homecoming I went to.
It's the only homecoming. I think the only homecoming I went to. We weren't all about the dances.
No.
I was not even intending to go to junior prom.
No, I think I drug you there.
Well, we were walking around the mall
Oh, and you found a dress.
and I found that dress.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Well, I want a reason to wear this.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. And I mean, the night itself, total disappointment. It was fun getting ready. That's always fun. But it was a disappointment in the fact that we didn't have boys in our life. And for us, that kind of would have made it perfect. It would have not have been perfect.
Yeah.
But in our minds, it would have been.
No, I think, I mean, I was feeling a little sorry for myself. I'm sure we were kind of having a pity party.
For sure.
Great.
We left early. I know that. And we went back to your house with another friend and just hung out in your driveway.
Who was someone else's date?
Was he?
He was.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
He had gone with someone else and he left with us. And then you went home.
I went home. I had to go home. Yeah.
And then that friend and I watched American History X.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's not a romantic prom movie at all.
that was the opposite of every prom energy
that you ever thought you'd have. Well, and so,
expensive and disappointing.
Yep, 100%. And I mean, prom kind of sum up the year. I mean, we started off senior year. I was an older senior, so I turned 18 beginning of the school year. You were younger.
Yep, I turned 18
in the spring,
like right before graduation.
Yeah. Our senior year started off with our adventure. We took a road trip.
We did.
Up to the Twin Cities area. My sister lived there, and she was single and had a super cool, trendy apartment in Uptown. I remember your parents weren't very happy about you going on a road trip. And
I don't remember that part.
My mom offered to keep my little one at home.
Yep.
For me, that drive was not unusual. I'm originally from there, and so it was not an unfamiliar drive for me at all. This was before GPS.
Yeah.
We had to
there was no MapQuest print off direction.
Might have been.
If there were, I don't remember.
I don't know if we used them. I think we used my memory along with road signs. And yeah, there had to have been some sort of direction, at least for my sister, to get to her apartment.
Right.
I remember there was like a parking lot in like the back, and I mean, it's downtown, uptown area. Like it was real deal. Then we went to the Lilith Fair, in Canterbury Park, I think it was. And that was an experience. We saw the Dixie Chicks. We saw Sarah McLachlan. Did we see Natalie Merchant? I would be interested to know like who's alive. Well, but then there were a whole bunch of like little stages.
I know
as well. So that was interesting. But that started our senior year kind of off with like fun. I mean, it was just definitely, so that would have been in 99, right? So it was Sarah McLachlan. Oh, Sheryl Crow.
I was going to say, I thought we saw Sheryl Crow.
Indigo Girls. Do you remember the Indigo Girls? I don't remember seeing them.
Mm-hmm.
Monica. Oh, there's just other names I don't really know. But yeah, there were a lot of different people. And so that was fun. And then, senior year, you just kind of go in knowing that it's your last year. And we
both had alternative schedules, I guess would be the word for it. Yours was partly related to mothering, but because we had the block scheduling throughout high school, people graduated early.
Yeah. December was a huge graduation.
Right. And so you could either have a full semester and graduate early, or you could take one or two classes, have a shortened day, and
a lot of people did that
year
and would go work.
Right.
They could have a full-time job. They could go to their first class in the morning or the first two, and then, work the remainder and get in almost 40 hours a week. It was kind of crazy. I mean, there were a lot of kids, a lot of drive that we went to high school with for sure in that sense. So definitely made the year a little different. I also know that year, the school itself was a lot more populated. So I think it kind of changed things a little bit. That October of senior year, I met my now husband. And so that changed a lot for me. He just kind of fell into our group. He just kind of came along. So that was my senior year. I mean, I was in love. I was in love, and I was momming, and I don't want to say he moved into my house, but at that point in time, a lot of people would think this is controversial, and I think I would never freaking let one of my children do this. But situation was different. And so he just spent a lot of nights.
He had already graduated.
Yep, he had already graduated and he was working. Senior year, I mean, for you, it was really prepping for college.
Yeah, it was. It was taking the ACTs, hungover, not smart. Well, I mean, it worked out fine.
Sure.
Yeah, it was some of that and delinquent boyfriends.
I got those out of the way in middle school.
That was junior and senior year for me. Yeah, I had kind of two big crushes. Junior, senior year, two people that I was pretty into. Did not work out with either, which is fine.
Yeah.
Probably a good thing. Yeah, I mean, and then it was towards the end of senior year that I met through some friends. Actually, the night I skipped senior prom.
Yeah, you didn't go to senior prom.
I didn't go to senior prom. I went to a party out of town and I met.
Oh, is that when you met Shirtless Man?
I met.
Okay, we'll call him.
Yes, I met the maybe not quite man yet because we were only
shirtless boy
18. So we'll just call him the shirtless one.
Okay.
And I think it was shortly after graduation, I essentially moved in with him.
Yeah.
Because he owned a house and
there.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. He sell the house to move here.
Interesting. I mean, it was.
Well, sure, but I mean, like to think, like to then go into renting.
I mean, we're talking a long time ago in a small town. I mean,
sure,
the value of the sale of that.
It's probably like 35,000,
maybe 25.
Okay.
Right. So,
well, and that also brings us to houses. We had a friend who had a house our senior year, not close to where we lived at all. So we would truck on down there. Again, that was something I was not as involved in. Obviously was there at times. It was like the hangout spot and that was fun too. And yeah, that was, I mean, I just remember thinking like, how does she have a house? Like, that's crazy. But we were all doing very adulty things.
Yeah, my senior year, I think we were just kind of done with high school mentally.
Oh, absolutely.
Beyond done.
Mm-hmm.
And we were very mini adulting, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were working, we were paying our own bills, you were parenting. We were really, let's just move on to the next.
Mm-hmm. Yes, making plans to move forward.
7th and 8th grade dictated our high school experience. Junior and senior year led into the choices that we made for after high school.
100%. Yeah. And I mean, what did that look like?
So for me, I moved from a relatively large city to a very small town for my first semester of college.
Was that in August? So do you only live with this guy?
I essentially stayed with him the summer between senior year and my freshman year of college. Then I went about 3 hours away to a much smaller town where I felt extremely claustrophobic. So that did not work well. And I came home every weekend and stayed with him. So it seemed kind of silly, all in all. So I transferred back to the university.
To
the local university by, gosh, I think I had my paperwork in before I'd even been out there for 6 weeks. And I was back here in December, and then he sold his house and moved to the town that we live in, and we rented an apartment together. Yeah, that's what we did for really the next 4 years. He worked full time. I worked close to full time. I usually had 2 jobs and then a full college workload.
You were with him for 4 years? Yeah, mine's completely opposite. I had no true direction of where I wanted to go. At that time, again, I was momming and I was in a relationship that we really wanted to work. And my mom also threw in a fun little plot twist that she wanted to move back to Minnesota. And at that time, I was not prepared to support myself and a child. And so I moved with her, and I had a job and I was going to the community college there, and I hated it. I was still with my now husband, and I think we went from June to September, and he moved up there, and that was not enjoyable. Not him, just it was myself, him, my daughter, my mom, and my sister, who then moved back in with my mom. And it's just in a townhouse, and it was stressful, right? You have all these adults living in a home, and
everyone has different ideas.
Yep. And so we were both working, and in January of 2001, we hightailed it back here. We loaded up. I don't remember. He had a friend that brought a trailer up or something, and we paid him in change for gas money, and we moved back, and we were living with his mother for 6 months.
Isn't that funny? We both left and moved back
Yeah. Yeah.
essentially at the same time.
Yes. Yes. And I always say that where we live is a place where people leave and come back often. And so then lived with his mom for 6 months. I would not, both experiences were fine, but I also just wouldn't recommend living with in-laws or even the equivalent in any relationship. It's just not supposed to be, but it was fine. We were both very grateful to each other's parents being so accommodating and allowing us to help get us on our feet, not financially, but giving us that grace to be able to build that. And then, we moved into an apartment, and he worked days and I worked evenings, so we didn't pay for childcare. So I got to be essentially a stay-at-home mom. And I didn't know what I wanted to do for my career. That then was just our path for a while. I mean, zipping past that, early 20s, we bought our first home and I was 21 years old and he was 23. And then that's when I went to school and I went into trade. Obviously, I got a license. I'm a licensed esthetician. Then boom, we got married, and that was just how we lived. My oldest was in school at the time. We just were chugging along, making it work. I mean, that was basically through my 20s. I think by the time I was 29, we had our middle, and that was planned, and that was great. I did a lot of care for my mom at that time, so that was a whole kind of cluster of a situation. And just to zip on through, like really highlights, then we bought a new home. We had a kid graduate from high school, start college at the same, literally one day apart from dropping my kindergartner off for their first day. Might have even been the same day that then we packed up the vehicle and drove her to college. And I was the mother when I got home. I climbed into her bed and cried. So sad. Like my husband was like, "What can I do for you?" I'm like, just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. I was so devastated. But real quickly, I caught on to the fact that there's a reason why kids leave. And then we kind of shocked everybody. We bought a new home and decided to have another child. And I was 36, I think, when he was born. And so I was of advanced maternal age.
I was going to say, I remember the
lots of extra testing,
geriatric pregnancy.
Right. Lots of extra stuff going on. But I mean, it was that fine. I was a healthy pregnancy.
It was.
Yeah. Had
healthy baby.
Yep. Healthy baby. Our third, we were done, and kind of brings us to now. It was then just juggling my work. Because again, I always was able to be a stay-at-home mom because we flipped our schedules around. And that's something that's so fantastic about my line of work is that I can adjust my schedule. It does affect a lot of things and income and security, but I made it work. And here we are, right? Like I've got one who's closing on her house tomorrow. She's buying a home
and getting married
this year. I've got another one that will be starting high school. Is finishing up middle school this year, which is wild when I think about the fact that he is where we were kind of when we met, and he is nothing like we were. We have nothing to worry about there.
Now your little one,
he's going to be an interesting fella. Still kindergarten, so he's in school full time. So,
but he's a charmer. He's the one you're going to have to watch out for. I think. Yeah, he's going to try and pull the sneaking out.
I don't know if he'll pull the sneaking out. He's mischievous, but I think he's going to be mischievous in not a sneaky way. Like, is that even a thing? Like, he's going to be a kid that, like,
I mean, that's how my youngest brother was.
Yeah. With my husband, I remember he always told the story. He dated a girl in Kansas City for a while before he met me. And at one time he went to his mom and was like, can I go see her this weekend? And the reply was, well, I don't think that's a good idea. He went.
So she didn't say no.
Correct. And so he went. And that's going to be my youngest. Yeah. Just I'm going to do what I want.
Well,
and it might feel that way too, but he's going to ask for forgiveness. I'm not for permission.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I don't know. Yeah. I'm old now too, so there's lots of things I just let fly. And my oldest doesn't like that. Parenting at different ages, you are different. For sure. And I think that's why it's not always the youngest that's spoiled because they're the youngest. It's because you're older.
Well, you're
as a parent.
Yeah. Well, there's a combination of things there, right? You're in a different place financially.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference.
Yep.
And you have different experience by that point, and you're tired. So it's a combo of things.
Yeah, it is. It is. So, I mean, kind of, you got through your schooling.
Yep. So I graduated with my bachelor's. I took a gap year and then worked in the social work field. And then I started my master's in social work.
Props to you.
After my gap
School is
year.
not my jam.
And so I worked full-time all through college, full-time all through grad school. It would have been around the time that I started grad school. I also started working in the medical field as a hospital social worker. And so I did that through my 20s and a big chunk of my 30s. I got married. I bought a house when I was 25. My nephew came to live with us 4 months after we bought the house, I think. About 4 months. So yeah, working, parenting, being married, family stuff was kind of my 20s, my early 20s. My youngest brother died. That was a pivotal point that changed,
Where you were going.
So after he passed, he passed in 2013, and by the end of 2015, I had gotten my second master's degree. I opened my business. I continued to work full time at the hospital, and I was getting divorced.
So just get it done. Yeah.
Just doing all the things. And then I spent the next several years focusing on growing my private mental health therapy practice. I left the hospital once I could sustain the household by myself on my business. Had the opportunity to really cultivate my friendships with other women, and so did a lot of going to things and doing things and traveling with girlfriends and also by myself. I love to travel by myself. It's one of my absolute favorite things to do. So I did that and continued parenting my nephew with my brother's help, his father. And here we are.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I started dating one of the guys that we went to high school with that was not in our group.
No, he was not.
But we have circled around each other for the last, since I was 14.
Yeah, and you were much closer to that part of that group, of the opposite group of ours than I was. I mean, I knew
it was
them.
Geographical closeness. And then both my brothers were in with a crowd that we weren't really in with.
Right.
And he was a good friend of both my brothers. So we reconnected a little over a year ago. He got engaged. We're figuring that out.
Yeah.
And my nephew is just about 18. And so we're figuring that out.
Lots of change, I think.
Lots of change this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the way life goes. It's kind of like I always say, it really is a roller coaster where it's like you're just kind of gliding either one way or the other. And then like there's the peaks and valleys.
And it makes it eras, right?
Yeah.
There was the era of the shirtless one.
Yeah.
There was the era of my husband. There was the single.
Yep.
Era, and now we're in a new one.
My era is more my children than relationships because they are so spaced out. It really is.
Sure.
I mean,
no, that makes sense.
Yeah. Being a parent of one and then, 2, but having different ages. I mean, it definitely changed household dynamics a lot.
I'm sure.
Having them, I think any age does, but I think having them so separate in age is a big thing. It's been a fun ride thus far, and I was said it
to kind of, you know what? Some days we're just absolutely celebrating each other.
Yep.
And other days, one of us sees the other when we meet and bursts into tears.
Yeah. Or just throw something out there. Yeah.
But
it's good to have that relationship, and I think it's good to have people who you can take notes from, and again, that's why we're here, being a platform where you can hear different perspectives on things from people who have a different perspective and a different life experience in general.
Although we grew up together, I mean, literally grew up together.
Yeah.
For me, you have as much history as my sibling.
Yes. Yeah.
right? You're not my sibling, but you have as much history and knowledge of family dynamics, etc.
Yeah, same.
And even with that, we have different perspectives.
We really do.
Yeah. Some stuff we'll finish each other's sentences. Other stuff we're coming from two totally different places,
which is really nice. It takes you out of your box and lets you see something differently. And I think it's nice because it is from somebody that, I mean, not to speak for you, but we both have respect for and share a common knowledge and a common ground. But we just everyone's a different person and everyone sees things differently. Yeah, I think we're going to finish this up and wrap today up.
Yeah, this is an intro and recap of who we are and a little bit of why we're here. And we're going to move into answering some listener questions.
Yeah, life questions, not what's your favorite, like what would be your favorite place to vacation,
but like an updated version of Dear Abby.
Yeah, which is fun. It's going to be, I remember reading some of them.
Yeah.
And back in the day when you got newspapers delivered to your home.
Dear Abby, Ann Landers.
Yeah.
Irma Bombach.
Lots of them. Well, with that, thank you for being here. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at unfiltered.unashamed. Follow us on YouTube and hit the subscribe button, learning that this is important.
You can also submit any of your listener questions
through Instagram
or through our email, unfilteredunashamed@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. And then you can find us on Spotify as well. And if you have a premium Spotify, you can also view the video with that, or you can just listen to audio. Yeah, like and share, comment, ask questions, all the good vibes. We're throwing them out there. So have a great day, guys.